Let's give the floor
Thanks
to
for showing
Edric
that, Lorraine.
Mendoza.
Great. Thanks for showing that video, Lorraine. Thank you for everyone who's here on the call. I'm actually, for the record, not there with you. I am in a different country, in a state called Virginia in the USA. And very recently, with my 6 children and my wife, we went to see a museum here. One of the advantages of being here is we're very close to Washington, D.C., and there are many amazing museums. One of them, which you went to, is the National Air and Space Museum. And I found this thing. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it has the icon of a space shuttle because it is called the Fisher Space Pen. What makes this so special is that apparently Paul Fisher invented this, and it's used by astronauts. Why? It can actually write in whatever position. It's not affected by gravity. Even if it gets wet, it keeps going. So it's an extremely powerful and useful pen that astronauts are able to use as they go about their business. So I found it really cool. My kids found it cool. So of course, I'm a sucker for cool things. I bought this space pen, this Fisher Space Pen, and I wanted to present this to you all as I open up my conversation with you, because I want to answer the question, why? Why are we doing what we are doing? Why is the one school here, and why is it offering higher education level learning at a time like this? I talked about the pen, and I'm trying to relate it to the why, because even as this was created back in the 1960s by Paul Fisher for astronauts, many years ago, I heard the story of the space pen, but along the lines of the space pen, I heard someone joke and say, why did they even have to create that when they could have easily used a pencil? This is a pencil. So all of the energy, all of the effort that was used in creating the space pen, which is primarily used to write, you could have actually just used a pencil, right? So as I thought about that joke or that comment years ago about the space pen, I still bought it anyway, but I'm sharing this because I think that picture between the space pen and the pencil helps capture the why. Why do I say that? Many of us know now this pandemic has really disrupted many things for many people all over the world. And it's also the same for the higher education space. The college space has forever been changed by the pandemic. And part of what is happening, as many educators are saying, is that people are beginning to see what is essential and what is not essential, like the pens. What is essential and what is not essential. And it's important to go back to what is indeed essential. The biggest disruption we have seen is something that we are fortunate to have been doing for decades already, even before coming together with the one school and offering what we're doing to many families today. What is that essential that we've been doing? We've seen that during this pandemic, some of the most important things in higher education learning are things that were also important in K-12 learning, which has to do with the quote on your screen, personalization. That's one big essential, right? At the core of learning, at the core of any good learning relationship is a personalized approach to learning. Why? We're all different. I have 6 kids. I'm sure that they're from the same dad and mom. They have the same environment, but all are different. Why is that? That's just how God has designed each person. So as a learner and as a student, the more personalized the approach to the learning, educators all over agree that that makes a better learning experience, a richer one, because it is personalized. And this pandemic, once again, has helped remind us of that I don't have to necessarily be in a physical space with all of the normal things that I was used to, but I can go back to the base of, well, how do I make sure that it continues to remain personalized? That's one big thing that has been seen in the disruption. And that's why we are here. Part of why we are here is because we've been able to experience this personalization for many years, and we're now offering this at the higher education level. And Lex will be talking a little bit more about that. The other thing is now this. If you can show the next slide. The other thing we're seeing as an essential is purpose. Even as we personalize the learning experience, and even as this is what people are looking for during this time of disruption or this time of the pandemic, we're seeing that people are going back to this basic of, I want to make sure that what I do is deeply fulfilling. It syncs with who I am. And because it syncs with who I am, how I'm built, and it's deeply fulfilling, it becomes a much richer learning experience as well. And you can imagine the success that can follow from such a rich learning experience. So that's why we're here. We wanted to continue to offer these essentials and remind people that these are the essentials that we've seen from this new normal. And it is something we are now offering through, if you'll see here, 3 big blocks. How do we allow purpose and personalization in the learning experience? We're very big on mentors and a dynamic experience with these mentors. We're big on a term we're coining, which is work schooling. So the space that I have been in, as Lorraine mentioned, has been in homeschooling in the K through 12 levels. That's where we experience a large part of the personalization and even this purpose-driven learning approach in action. So work schooling is now at the higher education levels, where it's not so much at home with mom and dad, but it's in a flexible area where you're actually learning and doing as you go, as opposed to primarily being in a 4-walled brick and mortar facility, which is typical of many colleges and universities. The final one is open access learning, right? So open access learning, again, has everything to do with flexibility, because we want to personalize it. So as you learn and as you pace, that's how you can best undertake the learning experience. So that's our big why at this point. We feel that we have had the privilege of serving to the K through 12 space. So we have engaged and are now working with Lex and their team in this one school project, if you will, that has been around. And we've seen that their core offering of personalized college experience is something that syncs so much in what we're doing. And that's why we've come together to be able to now talk about this offering at this virtual tour. So I want to now invite the founder of the One School, who was mentioned earlier by Lorraine. He is someone I also deeply respect. I consider a mentor. He has been educated in some of the most elite education institutions here and overseas, coming from Ateneo and La Salle, and then going for his master's in Stanford University, after which he gets his PhD, or he's able to achieve his PhD at UP. So let's all welcome Lex as he unpacks those 3 particular pillars, if you will, and hopefully it enriches your perspective of this and how it might fit your learning journey. So Lex, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Edric. Okay, let me just share my screen right now. Okay, great. So I'm assuming everyone can see that. So I was hoping to share with you something that can benefit you regardless of whether the One School is for you. We're trying to create something that's a little bit different here. So I wanted to share with you and tell you a little bit about what we've been up to, and hopefully you can apply this in your own life. So it really starts with the premise, right? The premise is, what is our world like today? What we do know is our world is vastly different from the world pre-pandemic, and even the world pre-pandemic was very, very different from our forefathers' world. We live in a space and a place where, first of all, information is free. It used to be that without our cell phones, we had to go into our encyclopedias to get all this random information. And yet now on your phones, you can have access to so much data, so much information. In fact, there's a lot of fake news, right? Because there's just too much out there. So we're living in a place where the information is less important. What's more important is, how do we apply this in a very real way? Interestingly, when I was in engineering school back in the 90s, my professors would say, you have to learn how to compute in your head, because you'll never have a calculator with you 24/7. And interestingly, now you do have a calculator with you 24/7, and so much technology that has been bombarding us, so much information. So again, it's not anymore about information accumulation, but it's about the practical and real way that you can take all this data, all this information, and make something out of it. If you look at who the most successful people have been generation into generation, you will see that these are people that use technology in a way that really impacts the world. And traditionally, the first people that actually did this were the farmers. Before the farmers, you had everybody got food through either hunting or gathering. And the farmers were the first to really take that information and learn how to till the land, grow crops, grow animals in a very highly technological way. So at some point in our world, these were the most advanced human beings. After which, it was the manufacturing group, the people who built the cars, built the trains, built the factories. So they were the ones who really grew the world and made it a better place and really connected people. These were the Zuckerbergs, these were the Jeff Bezoses of the world. Today, you can see a whole new space, a whole new place, right? Where the internet and connectivity has really changed the way people interact. And with it comes some pros and some cons. Because what we all want is to have a career and build a life that can contribute to the world around us. And as I said, the people who have had the most impact, that has changed over time. So there are three main factors that are impacting our future. The first is Asia. With Asia comes the rise of outsourcing, wherein people outside of the Philippines can now take the work and the jobs that people inside of the Philippines have. We have what you call the outsourcing industry, the BPO industry. And what people are not so aware of is that there are places like India, there are places like China, where labor is cheaper than the Philippines and the education level is extremely high. So whether we realize it and whether we like it or not, these are our competitors. We have to create lives and careers which cannot be outsourced to other places in Asia. And the Asian outsourcing boom, which is prevalent because of the internet, will continue to impact us for the long term. So we need to create something that we are doing that cannot be outsourced to elsewhere in the world. The second challenge that the world faces and that we face today is automation. Artificial intelligence, technology, apps, cell phones, robots, and so on and so forth are taking jobs away from human beings. And as technology advances, the lower level tasks will continue to be outsourced to non-human beings. And so in a way, our competitors are the technologies that we ourselves create. So we need to ask ourselves, is automation going to take my job and my career away? So again, the first is Asia and the outsourcing boom. The second is automation, apps, technology, robots, AI, etc. And the third challenge that the world faces today is an abundance of too many choices, too many things. We are no longer, because we can produce food very efficiently, we are living in a place and a space where there are so many options in front of us. Even in your choice of college, there are so many different options ahead of you. In a place where there are too many choices, there is too much abundance, we need to be able to create meaning. We need to be able to touch people's emotions. Until and unless we do that, we cannot cut through the abundance that is so prevalent in the world, that is interestingly causing meaninglessness. When there is too much of everything, people now search for a deeper meaning in order to create a life of their dreams. Of course, we are also impacted by this dreaded COVID pandemic. Who would have thought that you would go into any mall anywhere in the world and people are wearing masks? This is the stuff of sci-fi movies. And there's a lot of people that are having problems with their mental health and their wellness during this time. It's impacted even the way we're doing virtual presentations like today. So many changes, some of which we're not so aware of, have come about because of COVID-19. And yet we believe that in every crisis, there is danger as well. But the Chinese have clearly understood this from generations back. The Chinese word for opportunity is wei ji. The Chinese word for crisis is wei. The Chinese word for danger is ji. So opportunity, the Chinese understand, is a combination of both crisis and danger. So the opportunity is prevalent because the crisis and the danger is present. And this is a paradigm shift in the way we can pursue life post-pandemic. To look at the world and say, yes, there is so much going on that is difficult. And yet, in every crisis, people are finding success. You want to be that person who can find success despite the stressors and the stresses in our immediate environment. I don't know if it's just because of social media or just because of the internet, but it seems that there is an obsession now with happiness. People want to be happy without realizing that happiness is a fleeting thing. Happiness is almost always connected to your immediate circumstances. When you have what you think you want or need in your immediate surroundings, in your immediate circumstances, then you think to yourself, I am happy. However, when that is changed, and the thing is, pain is part of life. Change is part of life. It's inevitable. There's no way to escape it. When we have a drastic change around us, many people fall into the opposite of happiness, which is unhappiness. So what we're talking about is not searching for happiness. We believe that happiness is actually a byproduct of another construct or concept called meaning. I love the Bible, and when I read the writings of Paul, the Apostle Paul, writing about pure joy while confined in a prison, undergoing the most extreme circumstances, I think to myself, Paul found meaning and he also found happiness, but happiness was just one part of it. The rest of his life was peace and joy and happiness. But the bigger group, the bigger subset is actually meaning. And this is what we're trying to promote. Find meaning and everything else follows. The thing is, people are also so obsessed with passion. They tell you, find a job you love and you will never work a day in your life. And that is true. But I believe, and we believe, that passion, just like happiness, is extremely fleeting. That as much as you chase it, it often falls through the cracks or falls through your fingers or falls through your hands. And so passion is really an incomplete part of the concept. We think that there are three things that are important. Definitely passion is one of them. What do you love to do? But then you need to look at yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself hard and deep. Look into your inner life cathedral and ask yourself, what do I do that I can do better than my peers? What did God give me that I can share with the rest of the world around you? And if you look at what you love and what you have talent for, God-given talent, then you can find an intersection between those two circles. Importantly, however, we need to create careers and lives that we can provide for ourselves and those that depend on us with. So there's a third circle. What can you be paid to do? And if you can intersect these three circles, passion, God-given talent that you can excel and be the best in the world in or at, and something that you can actually make a living out of, then the intersection of these three circles is where you can find true life meaning. So I wanted to share with you, where have I found my meaning? I realized that I'm not good at many things, and that's okay. I cannot be good at everything, and I cannot find passion in everything. and I cannot find my economic engine in everything. But there was a quotation that we came across, or I came across before, and it said, I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, yet I can do something. Knowing that I cannot do everything will not stop me from doing the something that I can do. And when I came across this, I was inspired because I realized that that God-given talent is not mine. I didn't grow it or earn it or develop it even. It was gifted to me. And because it was gifted to me, it is my responsibility to share it with others. I realized that my heart was the heart of a teacher. And if you have that heart, then it's your job to find an economic engine that can support that, as well as share it with other people, because it is my passion and something that I have a natural ability for. So the intersection of the three circles was actualized in my own life and brought me life meaning in the entrepreneurship process. And the entrepreneurship process helped to create the school that we're talking about today. Because the E process, or the entrepreneurship process, and I'm quoting now from one of the leaders in this field, who says, Professor Timon says, the entrepreneurship process will create a better world. It's not just about new companies, capital, and job formation, nor is it about innovation, creativity, and breakthroughs. It's also about fostering an ingenious human spirit and improving mankind. So what we're talking about is the purpose and the why behind entrepreneurship. It's really about making the world a better place and being a mirror to the light that was given to us. I believe that everyone is a genius at something. Everyone has natural abilities. So if we don't, and that was gifted to us probably in our DNA, probably through birth, probably through the training we received, probably from our parents as young children growing up. And so we are all gifted. Now, to take that and improve mankind, that is what we think entrepreneurship is. So it's really a very important part of being part of our society, is to share what we have with other people around us. And we think that the perfect vehicle is an enterprise through entrepreneurship. So that is why we decided on this course, the Bachelor of Science in Entrepreneurship. Of course, we are CHED accredited and we can graduate our students. And we've been running this school for this time because we feel that this is the perfect course that can attract a wide group of students. Some students are more creative. They are writers or artists, and yet they can create a life by creating a business that aligns with what they are passionate about and what they're actually good at. Other people are more gregarious, more extroverted. Others are more introverted. You have a wide variety of interests, and yet everybody can create an enterprise that aligns with their personalities and with their interests. So we feel that this is the perfect course to attract a wide variety of students and put them in a classroom, and we accept and nurture them as they are rather than change them into something that they are not. We believe in what they call dynamic mentorship. And I wanted to share with you what this actually is. A mentor, by definition, has a little bit more experience than the person being mentored. But I think more than just having the technical skills, more than having the physical experience, what you're actually looking for in a mentor is somebody with values and a life that aligns with your values and the life you want to live. Now, the mentor has a very important and serious role because the mentor needs to make an investment in the mentoree. Now, how can you make an investment if you don't spend the time? You need to get to know the person you are mentoring. You need to let them know things about that person that are more than just professional sometimes. You need to earn each other's trust. Now, a lot of professors come into the classroom and expect that I'm a professor and you need to trust me. And yet, because you're both human beings, there's a process of earning trust, getting to know each other. investing deeply in each other, human being to human being, regardless of academic background, regardless of age. I experienced this firsthand, where I found father figures, guides, entrepreneurship guides, who looked at me and said, Lex, I see a younger me in you, and I want to hold your hand through the process of creating your businesses. And this was what I experienced firsthand. It was truly dynamic, to the point where my mentors became my business partners and co-founders in this school, and also became my godfathers. We call them in Filipinos, our ninongs, in my own wedding. In fact, when I got married to my wonderful wife, I only had 2 male ninongs, and these were my mentors. So I'm very happy to share them with you virtually. One of them is a PhD like myself. Well, he's a doctor in education, and his name is Andy Ferreria. He was a dean of AIM, the Asian Institute of Management, one of the most prestigious management schools and graduate schools all over the world. He was the founder of the Masters in Entrepreneurship program, both at the Ateneo as well as at AIM. And he talks about 3 big things. Personal mastery. So again, developing the personhood, getting to know the flaws, because everybody has flaws, and then working with the flaws of that individual. Mastering yourself and trying to figure out what is stopping and blocking me from reaching life and business success. That's called personal mastery. Dr. Ferreria also talks about environmental mastery, entering a space by understanding the rules of the game. Every game has rules, so you need to know the rules in order to work with them and beat the people that you're playing against. And the last is enterprise mastery. You have to know finance, you have to know accounting, you have to know what a unique selling proposition is and how to differentiate yourself versus your competition. So these 3 arenas, mastering the person, mastering the environment, and mastering the business itself, are all things that Dr. Ferreria brought into the programs at AIM, at Ateneo, and at the undergrad level at the One School. My second ninong and business partner and co-founder is named FJC. He is and was a very, very successful entrepreneur doing businesses that reached outside of the Philippines, where he was doing manufacturing in Saudi Arabia. He was doing work all over the Middle East, bringing big businesses to the Philippines and to that part of the world. So he was an OFW at a very, very high level. And he would, as he would go abroad and come back to the Philippines, he got into property development, or he was developing huge buildings all over the Makati Central Business District. He realized, when talking and meeting other Filipinos abroad, that many would study or work abroad, live there for decades, come back to the Philippines, either their provinces or Manila, and in 1, 2, 5 years, lose the fortunes that took them decades to earn. And this pained him in a very deep way. So he created a book called Wealth Within Your Reach, Pera Mo Palaguin Mo. It's a business textbook which is written 50% in Filipino and 50% in English. And it helps to explain the basics of investment, finance, and creating an enterprise in a way that will succeed for the long haul. And he now has dedicated himself for the last few decades, not to growing his own wealth, but actually helping other Filipinos, OFWs especially, to better invest their funds. This book has become the #1 selling Filipino printed business book. It has continued to sell more copies than any business book that has been printed locally. So I'm very proud of my ninong and my business partner at the One School, because he has really given himself to the Filipino community and helped to make their lives better in a very real way. The other founder, and the last founder I wanted to discuss, is actually my ate. She's my sister, and she's the brilliant one in the family, we like to say. She graduated from Georgetown University with a degree in accounting and graduated magna cum laude. She got into Stanford Business School. She got an MBA that has an extremely low acceptance rate. I think about 6% are the people that they accept. And she went to Stanford, did really well there, and then got a job in the best location you could get a job in New York City. She worked in Wall Street in a company called JP Morgan Chase. And she was in mergers and acquisitions, getting paid a huge six-digit American salary because she had all this experience and brilliance in this field that she had gotten into. But her heart was the heart of an entrepreneur. So she decided to give up her career in New York, come back to the Philippines, and put up a fruit shake shop, a fruit shake store called The Big Chill. She grew that to 52 branches, sold it to a publicly listed company, put up another company called La Creperie, built 7 stores, sold it again. In the meantime, her and I were running a resort in Boracay called Nami. And we were also both doing buying and selling of Makati houses, something that we still continue to do till today. So my sister, I really admire her because she had the opportunity to really make it big elsewhere, but decided that she wanted to contribute to the Philippine economy and environment by putting up entrepreneurial ventures in the Philippines. So she's very intelligent, very brilliant, but also really has the heart to share herself and her talent with our country. And that's one of the reasons I really look up to her. And of course, she's my sister, right? So I've always looked up to her. She's my older sister at that. I've looked up to her all of my life. So these are the people that started and founded the One School. And these are the dynamic mentors that we're talking about. So what we're trying to do is replicate that. I've shared with you how these people are involved in my life in many different aspects. And this is what we try to do with our students as well, to really invest in them, get to know them, find out their weaknesses and their strengths, and then help them to create businesses that can succeed in the long term. So to share a little bit about myself, well, I think Edric mentioned I'm a civil engineer. I was licensed in '96, way back. I did a master's in civil and environmental engineering at Stanford University. And 11 years after, I decided that I would study again, but I was tired of engineering. I decided to go into a different field, something that I've been interested in all my life, which is psychology. So I did a PhD in social psychology and clinical psychology in UP Diliman. So I did that for 8 years. And I think that this academic training that I got, which is very varied, technical skills in engineering and human and personal skills in psychology, are really the perfect training, so to speak, for somebody who wants to become a professor and really teach and hopefully inspire young people today. You saw some books that I showed you that my ninongs had written, very successful books at that. So during the pandemic, I wanted to share a little bit of myself and also keep myself from going crazy because I'm so used to being busy, being stuck at home. It was very difficult for me. So I decided to write a book, actually 2 books. And my second book was actually ranked #1 in Amazon's hot new releases in 7 categories. So this is one of the categories, popular psychology. And it's really a way to teach people how to deal with the post-COVID world, using my background in psychology and sharing a lot of different personal stories as to how to actually do it. So obviously, there was a need during this time, and other people have seemed to like my book as well. So our goal really is to teach entrepreneurship. And the way that you can do that, actually, the only way I think to do that is to actually get students into an environment where they are surrounded by entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, as well as co-journeyers, so to speak, fellow students that are taking their ideas and bringing it to the marketplace. So we call this immersive work schooling. It starts with incubation. Businesses need to be started. We prefer that students start multiple businesses at the onset, where they're vetting and trying out ideas, doing FGDs, doing small samples, doing research and development, and seeing which of their ideas has potential for real-world success. Because it's important to us that the businesses survive post-graduation. So it's not just about starting a business, but starting a real business with a true, unique selling proposition that can compete against market forces. So this is really about taking an idea and challenging it. We tell students, you need to fail. The more you fail, the better you will get at failing. And if you fail enough times, you will eventually succeed. So we set them up for failure and make them ready to face the failure rather than shrink and shy away from it. How do we do that? They need to pitch where they are with their business every single term. When I went to college, I did a thesis at the end of my entire college. And that was the only time I got to pitch myself and my ideas to a panel of experts. We think that this pitch process has multiple positive effects. Number one, you get people to challenge you. Number two, you get to communicate your ideas to other people. Number three, you get to show whether you progressed from the last pitch to this pitch, both in terms of your presentation skills as well as the work you've actually done or not done. So we expect that the students get to a space and a point where they're looking forward to these pitches rather than shying away from it and thinking, it's too difficult. I don't want to do that. And we're very proud of our graduates. We've been around since 2007. We're not a very large school, and yet we truly believe that we have the best and the brightest students. And I just wanted to share some of the success stories we've had. Anna Moncoopa went on to take a master's degree at Pepperdine University, one of the top universities in the US. And her battle cry has always been to help, most especially the poorest of the poor, the people who don't have transportation. And so she created a company called Mover, where you can, using an app, rent a bicycle, go to any of the Mover locations, and drop that bicycle off. So this is something that has been done abroad, but never done here. And she realized, especially during the pandemic, that a lot of people would walk long distances, and she wanted to help these people. She has been able to put up Mover bicycle sites all over BGC. And if you go to the MRT and LRT stations, you will see her product there. Very well branded. And she's done very, very well. She has another company also called Keeper, where she has like storage facilities. So she is really moving and shaking the business world in a very real way. We've also had Tess Rodriguez. So she has always been a jiu-jitsu practitioner. In fact, an article on her in the Manila Times, it has her name and it says ferocity and beauty. And her problem is because she participates in the Asian Games and the SEA Games, she trains every day, she always has body pain. And so she created a healing massage oil and now markets this product, which is very much an extension of her passion for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where she's part of the Philippine team. And our last student graduate who I wanted to share with you is a guy named Imperial, Derek Imperial. So I'm his Facebook friend. He's graduated already, and he spends every single birthday climbing a mountain. He is a true environmentalist. He loves nature, being in nature, climbing mountains, and doing good things for the community and the environment. So aligned with that, he got into housing that is extremely efficient to the point where it has won his housing projects, and you see photos here, have won awards. They were awarded the best green project of the year by a very prestigious website, lamoody.com.ph, because he was able to create. So you'll see on top of his house is solar panels. He has all these technologies. And now he's attracting a group of very adamant and very excited environmentalists that are now purchasing his houses, realizing that this is the best way to save the community and their planet. So we have Grand, we have Tasha, and we have Anna, all examples of the One School in action, all examples of dynamic mentoring, all examples of taking something that they've nurtured and incubated from the time they were in school and bringing it out into the world and having it grow and shine. So these are the real life experiences that we've had at the One School. And we're very, very happy to share these with you. And hopefully it can inspire you to do something on your own. That whether or not you end up joining us and our family, this is something that can inspire you, because these are young people in their 20s doing great things, right? So hopefully in a few years, maybe some of the students here will be doing the same thing. So thank you very much for allowing us to share with you the One School, the founders, our systems, and most especially our graduates that we are extremely proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc Len.